only way people find out is like when they meet their parents or they talk to them, they're like, wait, you're not from Ontario? Like, you're from, where's Nova Scotia? Like, what is this?
I get that all the time, right? Especially for me, I lived there and, you know, I adapted to the culture. So people identify me as a Pickering guy. I'm like, yo, I'm definitely not these guys. I'm from North Preston. You Google it, right?
Yeah.
But it had to take for them to get to know me because when I played basketball, Pickering was on my chest. But you had to get to know me and meet my parents to know, okay, shoot, this guy is a whole different. And his culture, where he's from, is way different than this place, right? So that's a major point for sure.
Yes, sir. All right.
Yo, what's happening?
What's up?
What are you guys saying, man?
Just another day that's exactly the same as it was yesterday. You know what I mean?
Join the club, bro. Join the club. We're in some different times right now.
How you been holding up?
For the most part, pretty good. You know, we're as far as business goes, we're considered essential. So I mean, we're still able to operate. The main thing is just trying to freaking stay safe and protect, employees and customers, right? So
I can only imagine the headache. We've talked to a couple of business owners,
mm-hmm.
and they kind of have the same outlook on it, but in their head they're like, everyone's experiencing this. It's not just us, right?
Exactly.
But they're trying to find new ways to like still bring in revenue and stuff. Like I can't go a day without seeing someone post a story of RnB Kitchen, looking all that. So.
Yeah, man, it's coming along, man. It's kind of taking off, quicker than expected, right? But
of course,
good problem to have.
Of course. Well, this is episode 15, so we appreciate having you on. And I don't know how well you and Will know each other, but like the way I know you is from basketball Nova Scotia, and like the very first time was the team. I think it was U14, and we had tryouts and stuff. And then before we even had a practice or something, you were off to Toronto.
Yeah. I remember that.
So like you took off. Obviously, I want to kind of dive in there, but like, Will, if you have any like kind of opening remarks.
Well, obviously, I heard about him coming up playing basketball in the city. Obviously, being a little bit older, I never really had the chance to like get to know you like on a real personal level or anything like that. Obviously, we've run into each other a little bit more as you've been back in the city with St. Mary's and kind of with your businesses.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like ask more questions on a personal level later on, but I just want to touch on one thing right away, right off rip, kind of what you said about your business is essential. You guys are open. How has the media and the government affected anything? I know you're from North Preston, correct? I just know that this is a pressing topic, and I reshared something the other day because I watched the press conference when they kind of came at North Preston a bit. Well, the premier did. Like and Tristan and I talk about this all the time about delivery, words, the way you say something. How has that affected your business, or has that affected your life in any way in terms of like doing anything at home or what?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think first personally, it definitely has some effect. Just in, we kind of consider ourselves community leaders, and a lot of the work we do is within the community. So, right now, my brother Nevell and my partner, he's kind of on the front lines of dealing with this COVID issues, from, setting up the health clinics and dealing with the people. And I'm kind of on the back end, just giving him a hand wherever needed. So those comments definitely, create a lot of issue, create a lot of division within the community, people pointing fingers, people looking for apologies, a lot of things that, in my mind is like the comments were messed up and, definitely not needed. But, we got a bigger fight on our hands right now is the COVID. We got, a lot of cases in the community. What he said was true, just the delivery, like you said, was the issue, right? So, we're here trying to fight COVID, and then we get these remarks, and now the shift of people's minds focus on, well, the premier and all this stuff, right? So we kind of lost sight there. And that's kind of, again, on a personal level, the amount of calls that we've been getting from people, because people kind of see us as an arm to reach out to people in those worlds, right? So, that piece. And then as far as the business goes, I don't think we've seen much of an impact. One, Smooth Meal Prep is kind of faceless. So, I think from the start, I never really wanted to put my face on it or say it's a North Preston business and that's for different reasons. We can get into that later on. Yeah. But so, that piece, I don't think people really made a connection of Smooth Meal Prep and North Preston. RnB Kitchen, we're pretty loud about it. Like, this is us, this is North Preston. We're representing the hood and all that stuff. But again, I think it's a for us, by us situation. The hood's buying the meal, so they're not really looking at the media and saying, oh, we think differently of them. It's like, no, we know who they are. We know what's really happening. So that piece, and then other people, the food is just freaking delicious. So I don't even think that really, it didn't really even phase, right? So not too much on the business side, but just a good question for sure.
Nice one. Okay, so like, and like we said, I definitely want to touch on where the origins of those businesses came from, and like how you ventured from an athlete into like entrepreneur and wanting to be a business. But just to kind of go back to how I said that summer you were here, and then all of a sudden it seemed like your life shifted, and you were off to Toronto. Like, you went from Scotia to Toronto, and then you went away for high school in the States, and then you did it kind of just like take us through the journey of back when you were 14 or 13, idea of saying, okay, like, I'm always going to rep home.
Yeah.
Preston's home, Scotia's home, but like, I need to get out of here to grow.
Yeah, no, I think for me, it kind of started the summer before. So, I was like 13. My brother came back home after being in Toronto, and, he really just put a fire in me of wanting to be the best basketball player I could be. I remember it was a tournament where Eastern Commerce, like the super national team, came down home, and like we played them and stuff. So like, I was one of the youngest guys. All these guys are like grade 9. I was in grade 6, and I went out there and played real good. And they're like, man, this guy got to be the best grade 6 in Canada. So once I heard that, I'm like, shit, like, all right. I always knew I was good around Scotia and shit, but once I heard that, I'm like, all right, I might really got something to do with this. So again, the next summer, my brother came home and we started training. And he's always been a guy that a mentor to me, and always been someone who, top of the food chain, wants us to get to the best that we can get to. So we sat down, and he's like, all right, let's write out your dream, and we looked at the day I'd be eligible for the draft. It was like 2018 or something. I missed it 2 years ago. So we're like, in 2018, I'm going to enter the NBA draft. And I was like 12 years old here. So we're looking at like 10 years forward. So then we made a plan of all the stuff I got to do every day to get there. So again, we started training. I started running before school and just really trying to take my game to the next level at age 12. So then that summer I went to Toronto. I hooked up with like Coach Rowe and grassroots and started playing on Scarborough Blues and just putting myself in that environment, seeing how I measure up with other Toronto, with, the top of the top in Canada. And, I measured up pretty well and, went to the States a couple times. So I was in grade 8 then, so I might have been 13. So then when I came back home, I'm like, all right, next year, grade 9, high school starts in grade 9, I'm going to Toronto. My uncle lived in Pickering, so I could go to Pickering High School, and it all kind of fit well. So yeah, I remember that summer with BNS. I always wanted to play for BNS, and like any other Nova Scotia baller. So I believe the year before I tried out for the U15, I was like 13, got cut. I was pretty angry, but I was playing against guys, AJ Simmons and those guys, 2 years older. He was a point guard then, right? So that summer I really wanted to play. So, I remember trying out and made the team, and you guys and a couple other guys I can't remember, but all of our age group was on
like
that team.
It was like Levi and John.
Yeah, exactly. So all of us. And then again, I was planning on going away for the next school year, so I also had to go away back with Coach Rowe and them for AAU, and the schedules just conflicted, and we couldn't really figure out how to. I wanted to like do half of BNS, half of but AAU, but I couldn't. What you say? Go ahead.
I just said you had to choose between the two.
Yeah, exactly. I had to make the choice, right? So
kind of limit to the exposure that you get.
Exactly. So I kind of made a decision to go do the AAU thing, and again, kind of missed a piece of playing BNS. But long story short, yeah, grade 9, I got to Pickering High School. Played senior, so I was one of the first guys since Corey Joseph at that school to play on the senior team. So like senior and JV, if you guys know what that means. And I started on the senior team next year, grade 10. I played about one game, and then I went to Huntington Prep. Huntington Prep called. They were looking for a point guard. My AAU coach like, we got a guy that's ready to go. So literally like Tuesday, I was in school at Pickering High, meeting the girls, doing the thing there. The next day, I get a call like, drive down to Huntington right now and come start your whole new career, right?
That was Huntington was a powerhouse, because so I remember when you made that jump from Canada to the U.S., because it was right around the same time. I think you might have been a year older than me, but that's the same time when I went to the States. I went to high school, and kind of in my eyes, like you were the first kind of person that definitely around my age group, and whether or not in general, that kind of left home to like chase this dream, right? So I was definitely always following you. And we just had a few episodes ago, we had Nate Darlin on, and he was saying how in the same sense, Lindell was kind of that figure for him.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and where I mentioned like you, what was Huntington like? Because that was where like Wiggins was playing, X was playing, like this was a powerhouse, right? And for like you, it's almost like Lenny going to Oak Hill.
Exactly. Yeah, no, for me, man, it was crazy. I remember I got the call, like, Huntington Prep, and I remember watching these guys on YouTube, Andrew Wiggins. Again, it was like 7 Canadians there, and they were like the top 7 Canadians in Canada, right? If that makes sense. And then, just in general, Huntington was like ranked top 5.
Right.
So going there was huge, First of all, everything's paid for, right? So like, and the guy coming from the hood and not having much, and we lived with host families there that, for lack of other words, they took care of us, whether it was Jordans, Beats by Dre headphones, whatever. Right. We're sponsored by Nike, so all that shit was just like, whoa, I'm pretty much at a Division I school in high school, right? So that piece, and then other than that, the hoopla around Andrew Wiggins, the #1 player, hoop mixtape, million views and shit. So every game is sold out. We're playing in front of 5,000 people. After the games, we're signing autographs for hours, right? So again, I'm 15 years old, living an NBA like kind of life. We're traveling all across the states. So yeah, just that hype piece around that. And then as far as the basketball stuff goes, a major challenge is, again, a young guy, so I'm in grade 10. I'm the youngest on the team, and I'm competing for a spot, competing with minutes, and I'm playing against guys every day in practice that are going to Florida State next year, Kentucky, the top schools in the States, right? So that piece was a challenge for me, just trying to fight to get on the court.
For sure.
And I think, again, long story short, I ended up kind of my second year, more guys are continuing to come in, didn't really gel with the coach, just didn't really get to shine how I wanted to. And then, all of the guys that I came in with, because I was younger, they all left. So all Andrew and them were older. Right. So then I kind of decided to come back to Canada and do my work there. Right.
Did at any point while you were there, did your goals shift, or did reality start setting in? Because I know, and I'm only speaking from personal experience, because my goal was to go to the States, and all I wanted to do was shoot for the stars and go D1, D1. And it wasn't around until my grade 12 year where I had a bunch of D2 offers and of course D3, but like that D1 was there, and I was left with the option of, okay, like I'm in grade 12, I graduate, I either go to university next year or I do an extra year of prep school in Connecticut in one of the NEPSAC leagues. And at that point, I began to have conversations with family, friends, mentors, guidance counselors, and it just like kind of reality set in. And I said, okay, like it's time for me to move on. It's time for me to read. It's time for me to grow up instead of doing an extra year. Did you have any like kind of experience of that, especially being at the level you were with the type of NBA players you were around?
Yeah. So, again, I think I think it's two things to consider. One, I was still in grade 10, so like my whole mind was I still got time, right?
Yeah.
So that piece. But then on the back end, it was like, yeah, I'm there with the NBA players, so I'm seeing the talent level, and okay, I'm saying, all right, I'm not really stacking up 100%, but I still got time. But definitely, you know, I think in grade 9 when I left, it's like, all right, I'm for sure D1, probably a high major D1. Mike can crack the league. I got a chance to crack the league. Even like I was ranked like grade 9 in the States. I was ranked like on a couple sites.
For sure.
Yeah, I was ranked like top 25 in, you know, in the US, right? So I was kind of, it wasn't like a far shooting dream to say I'm gonna go to the NBA. But then again, once I kind of get there and, you know, not playing as much, and then the next year leaving, you know, and I'm always a reality guy. Like I sit in my brain a lot around what I can do and how I can make shit happen. So a little bit of it started to sink in, like, all right, Frig, it might not happen. Right, and a little bit of that dealt and things like that. Yeah, I remember my first year I was getting calls from, you know, Indiana's, and, you know, these are like real calls from Tom Crean and other coaches. And then, you know, the next year coming back to Canada, you know, not having no offers and like really trying to, you know, make that shit happen. So definitely that, a little bit of that reality started to seep in there, I think. And I had like different spells. So then like the next year when I came back to Canada, I'd make Team Canada.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shoot, okay, I'm playing a big role on this team, and okay, maybe there is some light there, right? And then after that, I play AAU. I killed my AAU year, 17U, and then I signed to Loyola. I'm like, all right, Loyola's low major, mid-major, I guess, but some guys have made it from there. So again, to sum it up, my full dream didn't really shoot dead until like my second year of university. I'm like, yeah, there's no shot at all. Let's really figure out what's next, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why? So I got a couple questions before we move on. First one is, you went from North Preston to Pickering to Huntington within like what? Like that's 3 big moves, right?
Yeah.
Did that like, I don't know if everybody listening knows, but like from my experience and my understanding from teammates and people that I've met within the community, North Preston's a really tight-knit community. It's you know, like you guys have your own style, your own culture, everything. Was it challenging to go to Toronto? Like, was the culture the same? And then to move to Huntington, like just boom, like, yo, we need you down here tomorrow. Come.
Yeah. No, super challenging, man. And I think, you know, the first piece I want to mention is, again, I'm young. I'm 14, right? And I was super mature. So like my mom wouldn't let me go unless she knew. But like from 12, I was, you know, here I was doing stuff that was mature, and she's like, you know, he can handle it. But again, you know, those 3 jumps are 3 complete different cultures, and you know they happen in such a quick amount of time. And you know, you said something real cool on the episode of Peanut. It's just like the simple fact of like accent. So like I went from a down home North Preston accent to these Toronto guys being like, yo, why you sound American, right? Like, you know, simple question of what's your background? I'm like, what do you mean with my background? I'm from North Preston, Scotia. Like, nah, but like, where's your family from? Like, Scotia. It's like, they don't understand that for 400 years we've been in Nova Scotia. I'm not from the islands or shit, right? And then, you know, certain words. So like, I'm like, okay, if I want to communicate with these people, I got to change my accent, right? So like that challenge. And I come back home for Christmas, and my homies in North Preston like, yo, why are you talking, you know? So like that piece, I was like, shit. And I had to then realize, I had a lot of like, you know, conversation with myself. Like, am I being fake of like, when I'm with these guys, I speak like this or not? But then, you know, you really hit on the head. It's like, the only way I can communicate with them is through the same terms we know. It's not that I'm switching my accent or anything. I'm only speaking to them how they can understand, right? So that piece. So again, you know, going from down home, North Preston to Toronto, dealing with, you know, that culture shift. And adapting, because I'm pretty adaptable, and like, you know, I'm cool with people. I can meet people. I can mingle with people. And then going to the States, it was the same thing. I'm not only to any state. I'm going to West Virginia, right? And you know, West Virginia Mountain Mama is really like that. Like, it's really people coming to class with full-on camo suits and drinking moonshine, and right. So like, I had to really adapt to that. But you know, that piece. Luckily, I was there with 7 other Canadians, so you know, we really had a little. You know, we all had a home there. and we could still talk how we would talk there and different stuff, right? But
True.
yeah, super adapting, and doing that in such a quick time just prepared me for the rest of my life. Now, man, I can go anywhere and I can.
Right, adaptability is a skill, and what we always talk about, being versatile and having to adapt to your environment in order to continue to grow. And I think by you going away at such a young age, and even for me, I see myself, it just gives us, it allows us, it exposes us to the importance of that skill at a young age.
Exactly. Right. So I always think that piece of myself for sure.
The other question I kind of had from what we talked about just to start off is, I never played basketball in Nova Scotia ever. Why is it that everyone has to go outside of Nova Scotia to make it somewhere? Like, why doesn't basketball in Nova Scotia have a coach that has connections or a leader in their midst that can talk to a coach that's in Ontario that's like, yo, we have these great players here. We don't got to send them away to, like, why doesn't Nova Scotia have I don't know, a system where we're developing players without having to send away all of our talent? It's the same idea as why do young people leave Nova Scotia to go make money and go you know what I mean? Like, why? I don't know, Tristan, you both can comment. I have no idea. It bothers me.
No, for sure. I mean, it's a heavy question. There's a lot of factors. I think the first thing that comes to my head is, one, you look at Toronto 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was the same thing was happening. I had to leave. Guys, Andrew Wiggins had to leave. That piece. And I think the piece around it was, one, opportunity. Two, like, coaches didn't really take Canada serious and Toronto serious. 3, competition is a factor too. So, like,
True.
The guys I was playing with here, weren't really, I wasn't going to get to my best if I didn't leave at that point, right?
Gotcha.
So I think the shift now with Toronto, you're seeing the NPA league and, Jamal Murray stayed in Canada. The pool has built up, and it's been enough guys gone to the league now that coaches know, shoot, we got to come to Toronto and see, right? So now Nova Scotia, I think Nova Scotia is in the place that Toronto was 5, 7 years ago. We got talent. Now it's just going to take that next piece, for people to start coming over here. A couple of guys, and we're seeing some of the shift, Halifax Prep, and now it's just going to take more of that, more of those type of things. Of one, having the system where the players can play here and compete, and then the other piece is, like you said, the coaches with connection. It would take, like, a guy like me that I met all these different coaches, all these different places, to then work with I don't know the BNS guy now, but I'm sure he's never been to AAU tournaments or talk to any U.S. coaches or anything, right? So no offense to whoever that guy is. But yeah, it would take someone like myself who has those connections to put in place and be like, all right, here's all the guys we got, making sure they're at their best, best training, whatever, and then just plugging them out, reaching them out, right? But
for sure, because for me, it's frustrating to see, like, you and Tristan, even you going away, Nate, like, all these great talented players. Because then it's almost as if, like, their identity, I'm not saying it's stripped from them, but it's
100%.
It's just like, okay, they're not Scotian anymore. They're an Ontario basketball player. And then
just not good enough.
The only way people find out is, like, when they meet their parents or they talk to them, they're like, wait, you're not from Ontario? Like, you're from, where's Nova Scotia? Like, what is this?
I get that all the time, right? Especially for me, I lived there, and I adapted to the culture. So people identify me as a Pickering guy. I'm like, yo, I'm definitely not these guys. I'm from North Preston. You Google it, right? Yeah. But it had to take for them to get to know me, because when I played basketball, Pickering was on my chest. But you had to get to know me and meet my parents to know, okay, shoot, this guy is a whole different. And his culture, where he's from, is way different than this place, right? So that's a major point for sure.
And it can be a little difficult for players, because I'm sure, I remember T-Bear used to play with a St. Pat's jersey under his St. FX jersey all the time. And I'm sure, like, when you were playing for Pickering, you wished that it said, like, North Preston Bulls.
Exactly.
Like, yo, this is a North Preston player in Ontario. You know what I mean? But you don't get. That's the thing that bothers me. And I understand there's a process, like you said, and networking and having. It's just something that came up based on the topic that we're on. It's definitely.
It definitely takes a progression, because even me growing up in Truro, I think kind of answer your question. It's because Nova Scotia and even Canada in general was always hockey.
Yeah.
Never very prominent. And so the best way I describe it is me growing up in a town like Truro, it's even more hockey. Like it's like nobody's playing basketball. And I remember having talks when I was in junior high about moving to the city, live with my uncle so I can go to Citadel and play basketball. And I think that's a parallel in the fact that it depends how high you want to go. And if we're shooting dreams for Division I or NBA or pro, you need to even get out of Nova Scotia like I would have had to get out of Truro. So it's just all about talent level, and how high you want to go.
That's a good point for sure.
Nevell, when you were in Huntington, I remember like you talking about all like Hoop Mixtape was there. You guys had like vlogs behind the scenes, day in the life, and I remember watching one in particular of like there was a huge emphasis of like the weight room, and especially with like top of the food chain and Will's passion for fitness. Did that have any impact on like your love for fitness? Like I remember you doing push-ups all the time. You were on the grind. Like did that stem from there, or was that something that stemmed as a kid?
I think as a kid, it definitely my uncle. He's like one of the fittest guys I know. And he's been that way forever and always. My mom says I remind her a lot of him. I think that's a blood thing. Because he lived in Toronto when I growing up, so I didn't really know him. But I think that fitness piece kind of was instilled through that. But then when I got to Huntington, I think it definitely went to the next level. It's like, all right, because before then it was just like for fun. I wanted to have abs. I was a chubby kid growing up, right? So I was pretty chubby, and kids in school call me chubby, and I'm a top of the food chain guy, so I don't want to be lacking in no area ever. So once I heard that, I'm like, hell no, I gotta figure this shit out. So I started running before school and doing push-ups and all that shit, just trying to get in shape and have some abs to kids not trying to make fun of me, but that piece of it. Then once I got to Huntington, now I seen another level guy named Chris Lane. That was our fitness coach. Friggin' jacked, ripped guy, t-shirt, a medium shirt, looking like an extra small guy. But once I got there and kind of seen the impact fitness had on sports, we were doing box jumps, and then I started doing friggin' dunks. I was never a guy to consider even dunking, right? And deadlifts, and just seeing the impact. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this shit is serious. And then the other piece, once I got to the States, it's a whole different food now. Like everything's ingrained in, I lost a word, but everything got steroids and all kind of different shit. So, and it's just so much more options. So, like I put on a little more weight than I thought. And I remember that chubby kid, and I'm like, you know what, I can never get back there again. Then I went to like super next level. Like, all right, that's where the smooth fitness and all that stuff came about. Because I'm like, I gotta be, I'm gonna get ripped, right?
And so clearly you already have like an entrepreneurial personality, because even just to hear your brain thinking that way of own experience, and I'm chubby and now it's time for me to lock in. Oh shit, other people are probably like me too. This stuff. Like, Will, you want to add something?
Well, I was gonna say two things. We always talk about what we said the other day. Like, when you think of the food chain, like I was telling Tristan the other day, like when you think of like the animal planet and like animals and stuff, like nobody wants to be like, not to say that you can't be, or they're not, they don't have things that other animals don't have, but everybody wants to be that lion, or you know what I mean, when they see you. That you don't want to be like what's the guy from the Lion King, the two little what are they? Pumbaa. Pumbaa. Everybody wants to be the Lion King. They don't want to be
exactly.
But I was going to ask, you had mentioned when you got to Huntington, this is a little bit separate from the fitness aspect, but it ties into the entrepreneurship. You said like you kind of got taken care of a bit. You were being taken care of Jordans and Beats. Once that started, like because you say like you didn't come from like a super rich family or anything like that. Did that, like, was that when it hit you where you're like, I want to be able to, like, be able to do this for when I have kids? Like, I want to be able to buy them Jordans like that, and or even be able to take care of your community, like by being successful and giving back to kids like you with being successful as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Seeing that, like, did that have an impact on you starting your businesses in a sense?
I think for me it was before that. One of the reasons I think, I'm always a guy who my why. So when I talked about writing down why going to the NBA at 13, I also wrote down why. And the why was because I want to take care of my community. I had dreams and visions about building swimming pools in the hood and, building basketball courts and, just basically, and this is like 13, right? And one of the reasons why, again, I wanted to do that is, you guys know North Preston, there's a lot of stigma. All I ever seen growing up was pimps and drug dealers. And, those are the guys that had money. And I wanted to have money like that, but I didn't want to do that. I had brothers who, showed me, nah, there's another way and a better way for you. So the reason why I wanted to go to the NBA was to make money to build swimming pools in the hood and, take care of the community. Right. So that piece, again, that was stuff kicking in at 13. That still exists today with my businesses. That's why we hire in the community. That's why, all the stuff we do. One of the mantras I have is Nevell 100 mil. Like, one of my goals in life is to make $100 million. And it's not $100 million to buy Bugattis and chains and Lambos. I don't really have any lust for that. It's to take care of my community, to help and as many people as I can open businesses. I want to send 100 kids from, my community to college. So like all that stuff. And again, that piece wasn't really from Huntington. That's shit that's been, and I can trace that back to my parents and my grandparents. That's, again, seeing how they live. My dad is a founder of North Preston Bulls. A lot of the work he's done in his life has been for the community without, getting anything back. So all that shit comes from a deeper place for sure.
And when you were 13, you were just using the tools that you had in order to get there because of your why. Like when you were 13, it was basketball.
Exactly.
But as reality sets in, you're like, okay, maybe I can't reach this goal of using basketball to bring this money. Now I'm going to use this, right? And it's just
exactly
constant. It's a constant change and awareness of what are the tools around me that's going to help.
Awareness. That's the word. That's the word. When I first like, all right, I want to do it. It was like, okay, what do I see around me? I see pimps. I see drug dealers. Okay, that's not going to be it. Well, next thing I seen is basketball players. I only seen black guys on TV playing basketball. I didn't see no doctors in my community or, lawyers or I didn't even see business owners, right? But okay, now I go along in the basketball world, and this is the part of basketball being a vehicle. With Team Canada, I traveled across the world. I went to Loyola Prominent University. So now my vision opened up of what can be. Right, so I went and studied finance. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be a stockbroker. I watched Wolf of Wall Street. That's where I'm gonna get it. And then as I continue to go along life, it's like, shoot, entrepreneurship, businesses. That's where money is really Steve Jobs. Those are the trillionaires and billionaires of the world. And you made it a huge point. It's just that piece of what was the word you used?
Constant awareness, constant.
Exactly, awareness. My awareness grew.
Can you speak on? I remember being at the last home game for you guys this year, and I was unaware of your accomplishments in terms of school and business and everything. And we touched on this with Bear a bit. Is that I don't know why, but kind of what you said about the like television and movies show almost like Black Nova Scotians or Canadians. They only show them successful as in sports or they don't. It's almost as if guys like you that win these awards or awarded these prestigious business awards. You can touch on what they are after. It's almost like it's like kind of like overshadowed by like, okay, but like that's not the NBA or not hearing him on. He's not Jordan Croucher singing on Canada. You know what I mean? Is like there is that stigma that almost like, oh, you're only successful unless it's weird. It's to me because that's something that should be like in the paper, like that should be something. Because is there anybody from North Preston that's been ever awarded, like, you know what I mean? or
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Like
getting
what
at?
you like awarded like in terms of business or
Well, what you were like. Just talk about what you the accomplishments you had at
mm-hmm.
SMU.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean this year has been a lot of different, awards. I can name a few. One, I won the Young Entrepreneur of the Year award for the Atlantic. I won the Entrepreneur of the Year at St. Mary's. I won a few other that I can't, but just basically a lot of like this guy's a young entrepreneur and he's the best in Atlantic region. And I also won like top 10 in Canada. So just a lot of awards and recognition for my entrepreneurial endeavors. The business, Smooth Meal Prep, we did like 200,000 in our first year in sales. So, some pretty cool stuff. And
Impressive.
To your point,
Very
yeah,
impressive.
for sure. Appreciate it. And to your point, same goes with me. Like when I was a basketball player, Nevell the ball player, I'm getting calls from reporters every other week. Like it was like a regular thing for me to be on the phone. I had a spiel of like, hey, can you send us this? I would just email the same thing back to the reporters. I had a spiel when they call and things like that. And that was when I was in the States and shit like that. When I came to SMU, slowed down a bit, but the first like year I was here, we were having guys come into practice, just Nevell Provo back, all that kind of stuff, right? So now now that I'm over here, I had a few. I have had a few, front page things and stuff with the business, but definitely a lot less. And I think the piece to that, and I don't think that's just a Black Nova Scotian thing. I think that's a world thing. You guys know a guy by the name of I think it's Myron Roll. You probably don't, but
Sounds familiar.
He's a neurosurgeon that went to Harvard. He played in the NFL for 2 years.
Yeah, I remember.
And then left the NFL. Now he's a freaking neurosurgeon, one of the best in the world, right? But this is a name that we don't know, but we know. You probably know 20 rappers. I can name 50 rappers, and 100 NBA players. I can name you the fifth man on the friggin' Spurs right now, right?
Sure. But
I can't name 5 Black neurosurgeons or 5 Black lawyers or anything of that sort. And again, I don't even really think that's always a Black thing. Like you probably can't name 10 white neurosurgeons, but you can name maybe 10 NHL players, right?
Right.
So I think it's that piece around sports are just cooler. Sports are sexier. The issue for Black people are where F, can we swear on here?
Yeah, I don't care.
Where it messes up, I'll say mess. Where it messes us up is that, in my community, I don't see anything. So like, all I see is what's on TV. So all I see is basketball and rappers. And in my community, all I see is pimps and drug dealers. You guys, not to stigmatize you guys, but a white person in their community might see their uncle might be a doctor. Their cousin might be someone in their family might own businesses, right? So they see more. They don't see it on TV, but they see it around them, right? So our issue is we're not seeing it on TV and it's not around us. So that's where I can only be what I see.
And we definitely talk about that because it's a reoccurring theme, and it's obviously I've been aware of it before, but having these conversations has definitely brought it to the forefront. I'd be like, damn, this makes sense. But something that comes up with it, and when we kind of ask the artificial question of how do we fix this, it's just like your answer to how do we get Nova Scotia on the map for someone to take us serious when it comes to basketball. Like it's just going to take a generational change where someone like you comes across and becomes a community leader, right?
Exactly.
On that note, do you find pushback? Like, because I know, like, is there any like conflict between kind of what you're doing and trying to like go down like a say a proper path in terms of entrepreneurship and not entering the pimp game or drugs? Like, do you find is everything like positive in the community? Like, is it essentially what I'm asking is what you're talking about, like the issue, is that a community issue for you guys to fix, or does does all Nova Scotia have to do their part in terms of fixing that?
Good question. I think with that, it's a lot of pieces to that for sure. I think it's a community issue and a Nova Scotian issue as well. Like they kind of play hand in hand. First to your first question, the piece of the conflict, a lot of my conflict was internally. All of my friends were pimps and, not all of them. Some of my friends were involved in shit. And I'm at school at Loyola waiting on my next meal card to get a meal, or I can't eat without my meal plan, right? I can't get a new pair of shoes till we get our cost of it, our attendance checks, right? So that shit, and I'm seeing, but I'm on my Snapchat, I'm seeing my homie who I used to play ball with at 13. He got a new Benz, he got brand new Forces every day. So like that internal conflict, like fuck, man, like I thought I did the right thing, but look, he's looking pretty right.
Yeah,
exactly, right. So that piece of just internally, and just
and
constantly.
These are things that other, like, sort of interrupt. I'm gonna let you keep going. But these are things that, like, kids that maybe from the South End, that's not an internal battle that they deal with.
No way in hell.
They're going with their dad in their dad's Benz to the game, and taking their friend, or their friend's dad is taking them in a Volkswagen or Mercedes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So these are issues that people might be listening and being like, what's this guy talking about? Like,
exactly.
A lot of people have never had to deal with that, and that's a very that's a strong battle that people can never understand unless you're actually in that situation. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, I appreciate that perspective you use, because I don't often give I don't often give attention to that other side of the perspective. Like a lot of people can't even understand that, right? And I think to touch on that quick before I get back is the piece of a lot of reasons why young black guys are so flashy, and so when they finally get some money, they got all the chains on, and people want to pay their rent but will buy chains or have all these nice cars. It's because we never had it, right?
Right.
From someone from the South, and their parents had a Benz, they lived in a nice home, they always had the new stuff. So when they got money, it doesn't really matter to them. They're gonna do something right with it, right? They might invest or do something else. For us, it's like, shit, I ain't never had this, but I always see it on TV. Frig, I got money, I'm gonna go blow it, right? Yeah. So that's a whole nother conversation, but that piece for sure around the perspective, and then to tie back into what we're doing, what we can do to fix it. I think a big part of it is me, and people like me. So that's why a lot of the shit I do, I try to be super open and super on social media and super like, look at me, not in a like brag way, but look at me, little homie in the hood who I'm from where you from. I came from the same situation, but here's where I'm at now. Here's how I'm doing it. And I'm still cool as shit. It's not nerdy. I'm not like, I'm no nerd kind of guy. Like, I can still talk to girls. I can still wear nice clothes. I can still do everything that you thought is cool. And then I can still go to Toothy and drink with you. But at the end of the day, I'm building something.
But I can enter the business realm and talk to so-and-so that
exactly.
I need an investor, I need a client, and I can communicate with them.
Exactly.
Rather than come off as, I don't even know how you come off, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, come off the way you're not supposed to come off, right?
Yeah, and also to that point too is that what you're saying too is like, listen, I had the goal of being an NBA player, like I shot for it, but I also understood that there's other ways of being successful. Yeah. The chances of everybody from one community going to the NBA or being a musician are minuscule.
Super.
Especially like you said, in terms of where we are at with sports and maybe music in Nova Scotia. So that's even another step to overtake. So it's like what you're saying is like, look at me. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. You just got to put your mind to it, and you got to believe in yourself, and you have to be willing to step outside your community maybe to go grow.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean you're changing up. It just means that you're going to experience some other shit and grow from it.
Nevell, tell us a little bit about the because you just said you're open to showing people a lot of stuff on social media. Tell us the relationship with the little girl that you've been putting up on your story about. I think she's a boxer, and she's like, she said, "Yo, I wanna compete in the Olympics." You were trying to get at her and be like, yo, I'm gonna ask her a crazy question that to have the answer about, and you asked her why do you want to do this? Why are you doing all this? Just tell us a little bit of that story.
Yeah, so that's my niece actually, in Small World. She's the daughter of Tyler Richards, God bless his soul, St. Yvette's legend, right? So that just shows how small the world is. But, with her, so she's a swimmer. So she's a
swimmer, yeah.
She's a swimmer. She's a swimmer.
I heard she's a crazy swimmer.
She's crazy. She's like one of the top in Nova Scotia, right? And for her age, she's broken records, and she's doing all these great things. But the piece with her is she don't want to stop. So again, she's my niece, and her mom is doing all that she can to, her mom's not an athlete, never was an athlete. So doing all she can, just taking her to all her meets and doing all that stuff. So, her mom reached out to me, or she asked her mom, because she knows, my athletic background, things of that sort. And I'm just moving back. So I've kind of been disconnected from her for a bit. So she asked her mom if I can, go running with her. So automatically, once I heard that, I'm like, all right, there's a 12-year-old. She's already great at her sports naturally, but she's reaching out to me to go running. So we started running. We've been going twice a week. So, I remember the first kind of run, I'm just testing her out, seeing how she's going, and she's not breaking a sweat. She's in better shape than me in terms of running. And I'm like, holy shit, all right. So at the end of the run, I'm like, I'm not going to let her get off this easy. After we just did a long run, we're going to do some hills. So I just got to really test how much of a pusher she is. So we did the hills. She's pushing. And, me, I'm a big, the mind is everything to sports. So, I've read the most sports psychology books and all this shit. So now I'm digging into her mind. I want to see where I already tested the physical. She got that A+.
Foundation.
Exactly. So now I got to test where her brain is at, how she kind of thinks. And just, I'm throwing different questions at her, and everything is coming back, the way it's put. So then one of the ones that really stood out that I put up, I asked her, we'll go back to that why. My why, North Preston. I asked her, what's, why do you want to be, first I asked her, what's your goal? She told me Olympics. I'm like, shit, all right, that's real. I'm expecting, I don't really know, or maybe I want to make my team next year. I see myself at 13, 12 shooting for the NBA draft. She's thinking 10 years ahead. So then I started digging more. I asked her why she wants to go to the Olympics. And again, I'm thinking, I want to make my friends proud. Maybe I want to make my mom proud.
Right.
But she hit me with, I want to make my community proud, North Preston. And the reason why I want to do that is because of stuff we talked about. We get a bad rep, and I really want to show us as being good, essentially. Those are the words she spoke. So for me to hear that, it's like, okay, she really understands on a deeper level. That why is pushing me to this point. That could be the main thing I attest to, if you want to call my life success to this point, is that why. That's what pushes me through waking up in the morning and, working harder than anyone else is that piece. I'm doing this for something bigger than myself, right? Mm-hmm. So once I heard that, I'm like, yeah, whatever it is she wants to do in life, she's going to do. I mean, she might not make it to the Olympics, but after that, she's going to go on and do some super things, right? So
isn't it so crazy how our youth, our young children and teens can inspire us when we weren't even expecting it, or you know what I mean? Just to hear that story is the type of thing that's like, well, I can't. There's no way. You're thinking there's no way I can stay at the same level I'm at now. If she's
no way in hell.
Right.
What's she gonna look at me in 2 years when she keeps progressing? You know what I mean? So man, that's
exactly it. I've been running every day since then. I haven't been running in a bit. I've been just, business, and I haven't been on my fitness as I has been. But just from that, I'm like, you know what? From when she wanted to run, I had to up my level. But now that is my why just sealed deeper. This is a 12-year-old girl who has no, I can say she has no understanding of nothing, but clearly she does. But that piece really, yeah, man, super inspiring. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Will, anything else you want to touch on before we?
There was something I was gonna say. I'm just looking at my questions right now. Sorry.
That's good, man. I'm just happy, and it seems like this episode just we answered the call and boom, we're just in it.
No, for sure.
I just think that's a testament to the kind of person you are as a community leader, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily when these issues come up, but definitely the way that North Preston is perceived, especially for like Will and I have been not struggling, but the thought definitely comes up when we're having these interviews and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
People look at us and we're two white males. We're the privileged human beings that can come up. And so like, it's not that we're afraid that we're coming off in a certain light, but I think it's just so interesting and so rewarding and gratifying to have conversations that are transparent and real.
I was going to touch on, we spoke to a guy from Ontario. He's in education. He actually finished education, I believe. David, David, he's done, right, Tristan?
David's a teacher. He played ball 1 year with me at X.
So one topic we talked about, I think, is quite relevant to especially what you said earlier about the North Preston kind of like swagger and culture, is that your slang, right? Like you guys have kind of a, I wouldn't say own language, but I can't even lie. Like I remember talking to Dorico in high school, Lindell's older brother, and there's sometimes I wouldn't even understand what he was saying to me, right?
No, for sure.
But in terms of the business world and educational side of things, it's one of those questions where I'm like, kind of what you touched on. Are you changing up? Are you I don't know how to say, like laying down to the man by speaking proper English or per se, like in terms of progressing into society in the business world? Like, is there a struggle in terms of trying to, I don't know, do people even find that, like, is it like, do you see what
I see you putting down 100%, right? And the first piece is like, so for me, I dealt with this since early on. 10, I played hockey, so I played AAA hockey as well. A lot of people that don't know that for the Cole Harbour Red Wings. So again, I would. So man, that's crazy.
Red Wings.
Yeah, the Red Wings, right? But so I never even really thought of it this way. I dealt with that. Remember the transition I said from North Preston to Huntington to, I dealt with that in hockey. So I went from North Preston to Cole Harbour, kids from Cole Harbour and Lawrencetown. And so I went from, your man, what you them saying, to, yo, bro, let's fucking rip one, like, yo, bro, let's top shelf, like, and I had to play in that medium. Like, okay, I'm not trying to talk like that. That's too far, but they're not going to understand your man. So I had to make that, bridge that gap. And then I would come back, to the hood, and as I'm starting to read and learn more, okay, I'm starting to talk a little better English. Like my mom would get mad at me for saying your girl and stuff. Like she wants me to speak English, right? So then one of the things people always say, you're talking white. And I used to be real self-conscious. Like I ain't never trying to talk white around my homies. And as I get older, it's like, okay, well, first of all, what the hell is talking white? Right. Is English talking white? First of all, English comes from, I guess it comes from England. White people are from England. But reality, proper English is not white. Like, you guys don't own proper English.
Exactly.
Right? So that
it's
piece
around,
it's a language. If I'm talking French, there's different dialects, there's different ways 100%. You can speak French. There's even different ways you can speak English. Right? So there's no proper way to speak. So that, that's the first assertion that, I really try to come across and lay down, is like, there's no proper way. However, same thing is communication. When I'm in the room the other week, I met with the CEO of Supplement Kings, the founder, Roger King. I was like, okay, I'm not going to speak to him how I would speak to my homies at a party who we grew up and we know these words. I'm going to speak to him on his level, and I'm feeling his level as I come. Speaking to you guys, I'm speaking to you on the level we can communicate with. It's not too proper. It's just where we can communicate.
Yeah.
So it's really that piece of, hell no, it's no laying down. It's none of that. I'm communicating with the person how I can communicate. I'm trying to get my thoughts and words across. If I go to speak French, I got to speak French. I can't speak English, right? So it's just that piece of communicating, simply, right?
I just want, like, it's just one of those things that comes across my mind, because on Facebook, social media, you see just a bunch of different stuff sometimes, right? You see people like, there's nothing like in particular that I'm pointing out to, but like you see like talking about culture, and we have to like maintain our culture and our grip on, we can't let like society take everything away. But this was a big topic for me, was education and communication. And it's just one of those things that, like, especially with your community, how it is, and how you guys, like you said, how there's that little slang and stuff, is like telling a kid like, yo, it's okay to be able to like talk to somebody else a different way.
Exactly.
For me, it was similar in terms of going to X and meeting guys from Ontario. It was the same thing. Learn how to, they had their own little slang that you had to get used to. Kind of, you didn't have to, but it's easier to communicate at first, right? It doesn't change. It kind of ties into what T-Bear was saying about culture, right? There's the hockey culture. There's football culture. There's North Preston culture. There's South End, St. Mary's, white. I don't even know if white, but just South End culture, right? Just
I would even argue that as important as education is, I would say experience is just as important, because that exposes you to the various number of different cultures. And it challenges you to adapt and to best communicate with someone else.
It's really interesting to me, because like how you said, like some of your friends might be like, yo, like you're talking white. It's the same thing I said to white guys that might say like, use rap slang. Like, why are you trying to be from like North Preston or the Square or something like that? But it's like, it's not even that. It's you're looking at this like really closed-minded.
Exactly.
So it's interesting to hear you say that.
No, that stuff usually comes from closed-minded people, and I think, again, the only way to open that, you got to open your mind. And how do we do that? Education, experiences, traveling, seeing different cultures, right? So that's a challenge. How do we fix that here, right? Is the piece, and that's a lot of stuff there.
There was a question in my Insta that said, "Is your dad Putty?"
Yeah, Putty the mayor.
Can you dance like him?
That's a tough one. I try to get him a couple times, but he just got different. It's the feet. So here's what I learned with him. If you ever seen him dance, his feet moving and shit. And I learned it's the shoes, right? So I'm going in there trying to dance with Air Forces. I can't move my feet like that. It's sticking. But he got these slippery shoes on, sliding all over the floor. But I'm getting there. I used to, maybe 3 years ago I could get him, but because I had little, Harlem Shakes and Millie Rocks and stuff, and he's still stuck in the 70s. But no, he got the juice. I can't get him.
It's the confidence. It's the confidence.
Yeah, that's it.
Go up
dance
there,
is all confidence, man.
Break it down.
Man's is flexible. I seen the splits multiple.
Man, he's crazy. Imagine being his son sitting there, and you got your dad out there in a big pink suit, freaking doing the splits. I'm used to it now, but it's just like, at first, like, what the hell, man?
Don't kill me.
It's crazy.
We always kind of end off these conversations with a simple question, because it's the Top of the Food Chain podcast. What does top of the food chain mean to you, and how does it apply in your everyday life?
Yeah, man, top of the food chain is huge for me. As a matter of fact, I need a couple of shirts and sweaters if they drop them. But just the whole. So I'm a guy. That's what I do. Like I watch animals a lot, and I always like reference animals, because first of all, I try to tell people, yo, we're animals. Like, as much as we think we're not, we're in the friggin' earth, in the ecosystem. We're just another animal. So people really kind of miss that point of we're animals. So man, when it comes to a lot of shit, when it comes to sex, when it comes to females, when it comes to, I watch how animals do it, and and I can get into another conversation about like even the male and female hierarchy, and there's some females watching, I might get some slack for that, but yeah, I look at male lions and female lions. They have different roles. So males and females, we aren't equal. Not to say one's more important or anything than the other. We just have different roles. So shit like that. So then when I tie that in the top of the food chain, like I said, from young, man, I always wanted to be the best at anything I did, whether it was playing hockey, whether it was doing math. So we'd be in class and we had a math. I always wanted to have my hand up first because I wanted to be the best. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to answer the question first. I wanted to be the smartest when it came to girls. Even today, I want to have the prettiest girlfriend than anyone else, right? When I want to have the biggest business. And, I try to find a balance of, like, I guess, ego and not trying to push it too much. But at the same time, dude, that's what fuels me, like being the best. So the top of the food chain, and you made a great point. It's not always about like, my thing is not putting down no one else or eating up other animals. It's like, I'm at the top and I can bring others to the top with me. But, that community piece. But for me, man, it's like being on Earth, I factor this like we only here once, literally. Like, and I think people miss that as well. There's no redos. There's no other life after this. So I have no other duty, and the chances of being here like 1 in a trillion. So we in a real super spot. So for me, it's like, okay, anything I do, I gotta be the best, because what else is there to do? Right. So that's kind of how I see it, and I can go on that forever. But the top of the food chain is a major shit in my life for sure.
I respect that, and I think you open it up perfectly with what kind of the brand and what we're getting at is that to get to the top is not to be there, alone with a crown pointing down like Donald Trump and telling everybody you're this, I'm the greatest. It's to help your community, you know what I mean? It's to help people find lessons and learn little things from your path to help them along their path to get to where you're. And man, it's powerful to hear you say that, and even to open up and finish with that. Like, I love it, man. Like, I can't even be more proud of you in terms of like all the things that you've kind of touched on today. The little challenges from traveling and coming back home and dealing with friends and family and holding successful businesses along the way. You know what I mean? It's really impressive, for real.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it.
Nevell, you said that you do finance and, you gain a little bit of money, you should invest it and not. What's a tip for someone who has $100, wants to invest and doesn't really know the best way to start? Like, give us a little food for thought on this part.
Yeah, I mean, the investing piece, right now might be a good time to buy. Everything's kind of down. One of the things, a good quote from one of the richest investors ever, Warren Buffett, is when there's blood in the streets, buy. When people are scared, when people are fearful, you be greedy. When people are greedy, you be fearful. So always trying to play against what others are doing. That's the challenge in itself. But for the simplest person, first of all, I say, you got to study. If you don't want to study, I see a lot of people on these Forex and different shit. None against all that, but you might as well go take your money to the casino and put it on red down the casino, Nova Scotia, right? If you plan on getting money in a week, it's not how the shit works. You got to understand the game. So if you're someone who's serious, here's your tip. But if you're one of those people, man, go to the casino or pay someone else to invest your money. But for those who really want to learn, and this might turn longer, but I'll keep it short. For those who really want to learn, study the game, grab as much books as you can. Go learn the market, understand the economy, how shit works, different markets. But yeah, simply if you got $100, one thing I would say is average cost buy. And all that means is people try to predict. So right now, a lot of people are going to try to buy stocks because the price has dropped significantly. So they're going to try to predict the bottom and then buy on the way up. But the issue is shit can keep going. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. So what you do with then, if you got $100, it'd be better if you got 10,000. If you're looking for longer. But you take $1,000 a week and you keep buying. So like now you're averaging in. You won't catch it at the bottom and it keeps going. You can kind of, understand what I'm saying? So you
divide it up.
Exactly, you divide it up. So now you catch some at $10, you catch some at $9, you catch some at $8, you catch some at 11, right? As opposed to catching it at 10, then it goes all the way down to 6. Now you just lost all your money, right? So that's a little piece for you there.
Man, this has been episode 15. It's been a very gratifying one for myself, just to kind of get face to face with you. But
100%.
And keep doing what you're doing. It's great.
Yeah, no, you guys too, man. Like I said, I was really excited to come on here just because I knew, athletes, and we shared different thoughts. And I never really sat down with you guys, but I watched the podcast with Machiko, and I'm like, you guys really touching on some real shit. So I knew I was going to be able to get some real shit. That's why we can get right to it and not waste no time, right? So 100%. Appreciate you guys for what you guys are doing, man, and keep it up, man, for sure.
Thanks, bro. All right. Stay safe.
Yes, stay safe for sure.
You're killing it. I'm coming to get some of that food sometime soon.
I'm doing. I'm coming. We need a workout in, man. Hopefully, when things die down. If not, we can get a little FaceTime workout in or something.
That's right.
Okay. All right, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
Yes,
All right.
sir.